everyone, welcome to the Market Made channel. I'm Jess M, owner and founder of The Market Made. Before we get started, please hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Thank you. So today I'm going to be going over a DIY table tutorial. So quick background story, I had to build a custom table for my office space because I bought new equipment and launched a new website. You can see my new website link in the description below. Thanks. And my office space has vaulted ceilings, so it couldn't be the standard height of a table. It actually had to be shorter to fit the attic dimensions. So basically I needed a standard size table and a large table to fit my new equipment, but at a shorter height of 20 inches versus 28 to 30 inches, which is the standard table height. So with the table instructions I'm about to go over with you, you can actually modify it to fit your needs. If you need a table that's taller because you're going to be using it in a dining capacity, great. If you want to keep with these dimensions because you need a shorter table, awesome. If you wanted to make your own bedside table, awesome. So you really can customize it how you want. And if you do have questions, please comment below and I can try to help you out and brainstorm with you. So let's get into it. Here's a list of things you will need for this tutorial. Safety equipment, goggles, and mask. Electric drill with screwdriver attachment. Electric sander with either 80 to 150 grit sandpaper. For a finer finish, you can use 220 grit sandpaper. Cedar toned or natural toned stained. I personally used cedar toned spray. You will also need to seal it with polyurethane. I also use spray for that part. You will need an electric saw or miter saw, a drill bit of 7/64, which is what I use, but normally online people recommend 11/64 for number 8 screws. This could also change if you're going to use a different numbered screw like number 6 or number 10s, whatever you have available. My recommendation for 7/64 should work still. You will also need about 16 number 8 2-inch screws and about 12 number 8 2.5-inch screws. You may need more depending on how secure you want it to be or if you end up stripping the head of the screws. You will also need two 2x4 8-foot cedar planks cut into 3 planks at 44 inches. You will need 8 wood dog ear cedar fence pickets. That's what I specifically use, but you could also use other cedar planks as well. I personally use 3/4 inch by 5.5 inch 6-foot planks. You will need 1 4x4 8-foot Red Pine Cedar-Tone Timber. You will cut those into 4 legs at 20 inches for the height if you want the shorter table. If you want an average height table of 28 to 30 inches, you will need 2 of these Cedar-Tone Timber 4x4s. You will also need 2 2x2 8-foot cedar boards, which I cut to fit once the table was constructed because it depends on where you put your legs. If you do need an extra sturdy table, I would recommend doing pocket holes. Pocket holes are more secure and they can actually take more weight. Personally, my pocket hole kit wouldn't fit, especially like the legs is where you use the pocket holes primarily. My pocket hole drill kit wasn't large enough to fit the needs for this table, so that's why I did it the way I did. Also, I don't really know how to use the pocket hole kit yet and the instructions aren't very good. So yeah, that's where I'm at. If you do want to build a nicer table, you can use wax or extra sealant to give it that glossy finish as well. Time for the instructions. This is technically the first table I ever built by myself. I did build an outdoor table with my spouse, but technically that was just like different. It wasn't quite the same as building a table from scratch like this. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to build your own table. It is time consuming and does require a decent amount of equipment, but it's fairly simple and not as complex as you would think. First, you want to thoroughly sand the cedar planks that will be the top of your table. You need to sand it thoroughly enough to make sure that you won't get splinters in the future. Next, you will actually clean and wipe down the cedar planks before you stain it. Like I said, I used a spray-on stain, which isn't my favorite. It's like not the best quality, but it's what I had available. While you wait for the stain to dry, you can actually make your cuts for the support boards that will connect and secure the cedar planks together. With the 2x4 boards, you want to cut these to 44 inches based off of my measurements, but it will depend on how large you are building your table and if you're modifying anything. At this point, you can also cut the 4x4s, which will be the legs of the table. I cut mine to 20 inches, like I said before, but average is 28 to 30 inches. After everything is dry, you can then move on to polyurethane. Once again, I used a spray. It's not the best, but I already had it. For best results, using just a rag and normal polyurethane in a can is the best. You want to put 2 to 3 coats on the boards and lightly sand in between. That's when you can use the 220 grit sandpaper. When you are waiting for these to dry, you can sand the 4x4s and 2x4s. Then you should seal those too, but I didn't seal mine very well, so don't follow my lead on this, especially if you want a nicer, high quality table. Once everything is dry and ready to be put together, I personally moved all of my materials and supplies to the area that I was going to build the table in, which was my attic space, because we would not be able to carry it up the stairs. It wouldn't fit. Also, it would just be like a struggle. It was easier for us to build it in the attic, so it will be a permanent piece in our attic for a very long time. When we move out, the next owners might be blessed with this table. I laid out the cedar planks on the ground to get the best fit for the table and to make sure that they were lining up evenly. Then I laid the 2x4s over the planks to lay it out. You will also see that I started out with 2 2x4s on either end, but later I added a third 2x4 for extra support in the middle of the table. When you attach these planks together, you want to use the 2-inch screws. You can sort of see in the video that I used extra cabinet screws that are slightly raised, but flathead screws or wood screws will work too. I just happen to have a ton of extra cabinet screws that I wanted to use up. After I fully attached the top of the table together, I actually flipped the top of the table onto 2 side tables. This way I could see where I wanted to attach the legs. At this point, it would be easier to have an extra person to help you out, especially if you don't have like 2 extra side tables to like put the top of the table onto. But since I didn't have an extra person, I had extra side tables. I got my 4x4s and situated the legs where I wanted them. I did a simple pre-drill through the top, then attached them with a 2.5 cabinet screw through the top. This is the point where a pocket hole would be the best, especially if you don't want the screws showing on the top of the table. Once I thought I was done, I wasn't done. It was like super wobbly because I only had 1 screw holding in the legs. I don't know what I was thinking. So I reached out to a friend who is a little bit smarter than me when it comes to putting together these types of things, and he gave me some good advice. This is when the 2x2s come into play to make the table a little bit more secure and stable. I measured the distance between the legs width and length. I added 2 2x2s lengthwise and 2 2x2s widthwise for additional stability. For this, I once again used 2.5 cabinet screws, and you need to make sure you don't accidentally hit the screws together. That would be bad news. So I added the lengthwise 2x2 higher to make them flush to the 2x4 planks. Also, it would cause less interference since I plan on storing items underneath the table as well. For the width or depth of the table, which is the shorter side, I added them a little lower than the other 2x2s because since they're on the sides, they wouldn't get in the way as much. Then I was done. I personally really love this table, especially being my first time. It took a lot of time and patience, but I think it only cost me under $60. Granted, I had a lot of the equipment already, like the miter saw, electric sander, sandpaper, the cabinet screws, the spray sealant, the spray stain, so that might drive up the price a little bit more as well. And you might be able to make it cheaper if you did like plywood versus cedar, but I wanted a cedar table. So I get this will still be hard for a lot of people to do. If you do have questions or if you need help or advice on how to build a table without some of these materials, please leave a comment below and I will try to help you out. Honestly, just off the top of my head, a caulk gun and construction adhesive or liquid nails might be able to replace the screws. I would have to play with it. Let me know if you're interested in that video. Thanks. Anyways, please check out my final product. I think it turned out great. Take a look. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. That'd be very nice of you. You can also follow me on social media at themarketmade. Also, in the description below, I will add a link to my new website. I also started 2 new blogs, one about me, one about The Market Made, and I will be including a DIY table tutorial blog post at some point, so stay tuned. And that's why you follow me on social media, so you're updated. And remember to subscribe to the Market Made channel. And as always, thank you again for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day. And yeah, take care. Bye. I'm just like not in the right headspace, but I have to get this done. Okay. Before we get started, making weird faces, I feel like. I know you'll like it. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll hate it. I looked away from the camera. Probably did that a lot today. Too much coffee. What am I saying? Follow me on social media. Okay. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs. Why is the ending so hard?